Hey y'all, this is Brown at IF Brown, and so mainly because I'm having a difficult time sleeping, I just wanted to try doing something a little different. I was trying to maybe find something I could read aloud that would be kind of interesting, and I came across a folder that had some of my old psychology stuff in there from college, way back in the day of 2005. This is Quad C, mind you. I had a teacher named Professor Bellany, a really lovely woman, very good teacher. I don't know if she's still there. I mean, this is 2023. This was back in 2005, so who knows? But wherever she is, hope she's doing okay. She was a cool teacher. But yeah, so we had this assignment where we had to, record our memories of these dreams that we were having. Like it was over a 3 night period, and the first night, we were to, as soon as we woke up, get a tape recorder going and talk about our memories. And this is, I think, before the cell phones could be used in such a way. I'm not too sure on that. I was kind of behind when it came to technology at the time. Still am. But and so the second dream, we were to allow for some more time to we were to allow for some time to pass, and then speak into the tape recorder of what we remembered. And then the third dream, we were allowed to allow for even more time to pass, and then speak into it. And I think the whole thing was, I've slept since then, mind you, but I want to say that the idea was to try and learn how dream memory works, in the sense of being able to have a more vivid memory of your dreams as soon as you awaken, but as the day goes on, you remember less and less of your dreams. Also, the older you get, I found that you remember your dreams even less. So yeah, this assignment I wrote on, it was on March 1st of 2005, and then there was a follow-up the day after, March 2nd of 2005, in which we talked about our dream, what we thought the dreams meant. Now, when I get to that last part, I'm probably going to give an abridged version, because as I was initially recording this, it was going well and everything, but then I got to what I thought some of the dreams meant, and I forgot that there was some personal drama in my life that was going on at the time that, thankfully, I think things are better now, but at the time, things weren't so good. And so, rather than, drag anyone through the mud that doesn't need to be dragged through the mud, I'll just, give an abridged version, that kind of thing. So, but as far as the actual dreams go, I'll gladly read those aloud. So, yeah, here goes. Back from 2005 at Quad C. This is a fair warning. I did not record the first two of the required 3 dreams, but I did record a description of the third one, so I will be working backwards in terms of synopsis. Dream 3 is the one I remember best, Dream 2 is what I remember minimally, and Dream 1 is what I hardly remember at all. So onward to the dreams. Dream number 3. Dream number 3 actually felt like a set of color dreams combined into one dream. What I first remember is a segment in which I am living alone with my dad. Both my birth mother and my stepmom have somehow died. Only my dad is left to care for me, kind of like the protagonist of The Rifleman. Now, I think what I meant to say at the time was, the son of the protagonist of The Rifleman, because that was an old black and white show that, I watched when I was younger, like back when, say, if I was with my dad, and he took me over to, grandma's, she had like TNT on, you have all those, old school westerns and what have you. But anyway, yeah, so that was a show where, the protagonist, was a single parent, his wife and, his son's mother had, died a long time ago. And so here he's a single parent raising his kid, so I think what I should have said was kind of like the son of the protagonist of The Rifleman. So anyway, there you go. I remember that the scenery around our neighborhood remained primarily the same, but there were subtle changes. The trees were of a different formation and unworldly in color. I probably should have put otherworldly, but hindsight's 2020. And the sky was always a bluish steel gray. Our dogs, Gandalf and Daisy, were altered as well. They took some getting used to, it took some getting used to, getting them to where they were, good dogs. But once they got going, they were good dogs. So I miss them. They appeared to be dinosaur-like creatures with a hankering for fresh squirrel. But the strangest part of my dream was when former President Bill Clinton came to live a few houses down the block. Now, I don't recall dreaming about politicians until last night, but this is a strange development to say the least. Oddly enough, he seemed like a nice guy, but whenever people would talk to him, there was a sensation I felt that seemed to be screaming, "Don't trust him," so I didn't. Sometimes I obey warnings in dreams, sometimes I don't. This somehow altered the neighborhood even further, driving my dad into being a house recluse and literally driving me to the next segment of my dream. This is where the dream became cool. I found myself wandering the streets of a city I had been to before in my dreams, even though I am never able to remember the name of the place. It almost always consists of alien architecture, namely buildings with organic qualities, as well as golden skyscrapers, which appear normal enough. And I'm looking at this, I'm seeing way too many commas. This time, I greeted familiar faces which I always saw, but once awoken, rarely remember, and followed the twisting path into a new section of the city. This area appeared to be something out of Casablanca or Raiders of the Lost Ark. The buildings were Arabic in architecture, but the people were either Hispanic, Caucasian, or unidentifiable. I was then somehow recruited into this outlaw gang, and I had a high position of selling drugs. I remember that there were so many beautiful women in this gang, and I was able to befriend them. There were so many different kinds of women: naked, clothed, redheads, blondes, brunettes, women with soulful, expressive eyes, and women whose every gesture expressed a considerable amount of vulnerability. I can't say whether or not I had relations with any of them. But at one point, I got into trouble with the gang leader for some reason, which I think involved a transaction gone awry. I remember him pointing a gun at me, his goatee grinning wickedly, on its own, I might add. The women were watching and crying, and I thought that this guy was going to kill me. He then aimed the gun at my leg and slowly pulled the trigger. Instead of blowing my leg off, it clicked empty. He then launched into some kind of tirade about how everyone must do their share, and he looked directly at me and said that, quote unquote, next time the gun would not be empty. The last thing I remember is the sunlight being reflected in a window, and the light surrounded this woman whom only I could see. I remember that she was looking at me with sad eyes, and that her hair was reddish brown. She had milk, liquid skin that was beautiful to behold, and she was wearing a blue sweater. I managed to croak pretty, as in I managed to croak the word pretty, before waking up. So something I'll say about this dream, or at least this final part, that part I actually kind of remember, from way back then, because I just remember, going from a very harrowing moment, where this gang leader was, threatening to blow my leg off, or kill me, or maybe both. And going from that to this, moment of blissful exhaustion. Like, how sometimes, like, you're tired, but it's not the stressed out kind of tired. It's like, I'm finally about to sleep, that kind of thing. It felt like that. Like, and I'm wondering, though, like, was I dying in my dream? Because this woman, I mean, she looked so sad, like she was mourning me. And, and as I'm croaking, pretty, I remember that. I actually remember croaking the word pretty, like my throat was dry and everything. And it's pretty wild, but, I'm croaking, pretty as I'm looking at her. And she just looks so sad. And it's like, instead of waking up, it was like I was dying or something. I mean, not like an agonizing death, but just, your time has come, and time to go wherever waits beyond, that kind of thing. And I just remember she looked so sad, and I don't know who she was, but she was beautiful and sad. uh, but yeah, that definitely takes me back. So, dream 2. What I mainly remember about this dream was that I spent the majority of the time watching a movie and saving an infant from a horrible death. For some reason, this dream had my dad getting me Conan the Barbarian for my birthday, the movie. I remember watching and enjoying it, but I don't remember what was in it. I then got bored and went to read a book called Cabal, which, incidentally, if you like Clive Barker, Cabal is an awesome book. At that point, the house changed into a sea blue maze, some rooms shifting upside down or falling apart. I then went exploring in the hazy, I wrote dim lit hallways, but I probably should have put dimly lit hallways. When I began to hear the cries, somehow I knew that it was a baby and that it was in danger, so I ran in slow motion, following the cries into a tall, narrow bedroom. The bed was dark blue, and there were dozens of heavy pillows on top of it. From underneath was the cry of the baby. I knew I had to hurry, so I used the extra strength that dreams sometimes provide, and I hauled the pillows off. Accidentally wrote pillow, but my teacher was kind enough to put pillows. The pillows off the bed. Slowly, the baby was revealed, a pale pink thing. I picked it up in my arms and carried it out of the room. Then I woke up. So that last part I actually remember, because there was a story I heard a long time ago. I mean, a little bit before my time at Quad C, I think. But there was this. Actually, no, I think it may have been like way back, like elementary or junior high even. But I remember hearing a story that someone had told us about how there was this Christmas party. This family, they were throwing this lavish Christmas party, and they were using, I want to say, maybe it was a guest bedroom or maybe it was their bedroom. They were using a bedroom in the house to stash coats in, because there were a lot of guests there, and maybe they ran out of a closet room. I don't know, but they were using this bed in the bedroom, to throw their coats on. Well, somehow they had forgotten. And when I say they, I'm gonna assume that it was the family who was throwing the party and whose house it was. They forgot that their baby was on that bed, and it was buried in the coats and unfortunately suffocated. And I just remember thinking, like, how the hell does that even happen? I mean, was there like a lot of alcohol involved? I mean, alcohol-induced idiocy? But even then, though, it's like, let's say the family, let's say, the husband and wife, let's say, they're really preoccupied trying to keep this party going and what have you. Okay, I mean, kind of make some shitty parents in my book, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, kind of losing track of your kid for a little bit, I can understand, but you think that at some point, at least one of the guests would have been like, hey, guys, why is there a baby on this bed, and whose baby is this? You'd think that one of them would have chimed up, or chimed in or something, or spoken up, but no, that didn't happen. It's just, they just kept throwing their coats on the bed, and the baby died. And so that always stuck with me, and I'm not sure exactly what made me have this dream about saving the baby, but but something did, and it just stuck with me. And maybe the blue room. I've always liked the color blue, and blue oftentimes is used like in visual medium to convey a sort of dreamlike atmosphere. And so I guess that kind of carried over to my dream, but yeah, it just, I'm glad this one baby in a dream was able to be saved at least, so there's that. So dream one, whatever bits and pieces I remember are few. I recall flying, possibly naked, and I swooped over strangely familiar landscapes. I may have seen some creatures or people I had heard about, and I think I meant to say I had heard about at some point in my life, or something along those lines, but I'm not sure. What I do remember is that the sensation of flying was very real with the wind against my skin. This continued for a while until an eye in the sky suddenly appeared. It drew me into its iris and I woke up. So, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry. I don't remember much of that, but I do remember the eye, kind of. I kind of remember the eye. I wouldn't be able to tell you like what color it was, or if there was a more organic or mechanical quality. But I remember an eye in the sky opening up and taking me into it. So, but then again, that kind of thing you can hear about from other people in their dreams as well. So not too unusual. So, all right. So here's where I talk about what I thought the dreams meant. So I'm going to, briefly go over some of the stuff, just, like I said, to avoid, dredging up, bad parts, that kind of thing. So I'll read this part. It is often said that dreams contain many truths. This is a saying that is often very true, and that's not a cliche. I know, sorry. I was young. As strange as some of my dreams are, I feel that I am somewhat able to explain them. I may not be correct, but these are the impressions I'm going on. So one of the things I talk about is, basically how, my dad at that point in time, was, the family member that I most identified with, and, basically how, I kind of, how I looked up to him and he'd always been there for me and, what have you. And so, whereas at this point in time, I felt there was kind of a disconnect between, say, my mom and my, between me and my mom and my stepmom, and so, without going into too much detail, it's just, that's just what was going on at the time. And so, I mean, things are better now, obviously. It's just that, at the time, there was some stuff, and so, but then again, it's like everyone has, that one family member that, they look up to, and that was my dad. So, so yeah, then let's see, looking at what I'm, when I'm talking about the beautiful women, in that other dream I had, the abundance of vulnerable, beautiful women probably signifies that I love to look at beautiful women, but I don't just want to bed them. I want to get to know them, if you will. But I'm still a virgin with an overactive imagination. So, yeah. So this was like, this was, way back. So, I probably could have, phrased that part, better. But hey, so yeah, that was, yeah. Okay, so Clinton was probably in my dream because my grandpa knew him. Yeah, my grandpa, my dad's side of the family, he actually, met former President Bill Clinton a few times. I mean, make of that what you will, So, and he talked about him a lot. Lately, my grandpa's health has not been very well. So maybe the manifestation of someone he looked up to was the only way of expressing concern for him in my dreams. The fact that I did not trust him, as in Clinton, probably stemmed from, basically, I remember hearing that like there were a lot of lies they told and what have you, and so, that kind of carried over, like into the dream. Who knows? But also, not to speak ill of him or anything like that, but my grandpa on my dad's side of the family, I mean, I met him, a few times and everything, and I remember him, but I never had that close of a relationship, unfortunately, which is sad. I mean, it wasn't like it was bad. I mean, there was like anything bad or anything. It's just, unfortunately, the way things worked out, you know, we didn't get to, hang out very much, but so yeah, maybe, just the fact that, Clinton was kind of like a, hot button, person, and the fact that my grandpa, knew him, maybe that was the only way I could kind of express concern for him in my dream, because I was more familiar with Clinton than I was my own grandpa. Go figure, at least from what I've heard about, the former president at that point in time. So that's weird how it works out sometimes. It's like, more about, say, a certain celebrity, or a politician or what have you, than, say, one of your own family members, which, I mean, sometimes that's just the way it works out, but I don't know, it's just kind of sad, really. I mean, I wish I had gotten to know him more. My grandpa, I mean, not Clinton, But yeah, he lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I remember my dad would, take me and would take Barbara and I, Barbara, my stepmom, he would take, Barbara and I out there and, show us around, and then, we'd go see Grandpa and his wife, and they were always real nice from what I remember. And it's just we didn't see him very much, and so it just, there wasn't much of a relationship there, unfortunately. But I mean, but no, but he was always happy to see me, and I was always happy to see him. And I remember there were a few times where we'd have, say, like family get-togethers, and see, myself, my dad, and my grandpa all have the same name, and so, and we all went by Brown, and Brown's, our middle name. And so, and I remember that anytime, the three of us were together in a room, and someone would say, "Hey, Brown," we'd all be like, "Yes," because like you gotta be a little more specific, And Dad was, like big. My grandpa was Big Brown. Dad was, I think, Brown Jr., and I was Little Brown. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so finally, the fact that I was flying naked may have signified my desire to chuck responsibility to the wind and enjoy life. Makes sense. The giant eye was probably the personification of inescapable discipline. I can only run for so long. And that's all I wrote. But yeah, I mean, that last part, I mean, I could definitely see, it's because, in your dreams, you're when you're relaxed and you're free, you're flying, and, nothing's, constraining you or restraining you, and you're free, But then I guess, something, pops up. Maybe something from the real world makes its way into the dream world, and it's like, back to life, back to reality, dun dun dun. It's, I mean, okay, it's a catchy song. I like it, but no, it's just no, really, it's like that's how it works sometimes. I mean, you'll be having a blissful moment in your dreams, and then maybe the alarm clock goes off, or maybe some worry or anxiety from something that's going on, or some stress from your real life kind of makes its way into the real world. It's like, okay, break time's over, back to the grind, that kind of thing. So, but no, this was fun. It was fun rereading some of this stuff, and some of it I'm kind of like, man, I like some of the stuff I like in terms of what I wrote, and some of it I'm kind of like, man, I need, someone's, my younger self needs to take more writing lessons, that kind of thing. But yeah, this was fun for me to, look back on. I hope it was fun for y'all to listen to, just kind of getting a snapshot in a time of the life of my younger self, back in Quad C in 2005, 1 year after I graduated from Berkner. And so, Berkner High School. So yeah, that was a fun time in my life. Junior college, I liked it. Some good times, and psych class was one of them. So Anyway, y'all take care. Have a good night. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you see here, please feel free to like and subscribe. And got any comments, questions, please feel free to drop a line. Let me know. And y'all take care. Good night. Bye.